Apologies, I'm like slightly a bit hungover as well. I don't know if my
It'll be even better then.
I don't know if I sound like more sexy when I'm hungover. I don't know. I feel like my voice like is more like raspy.
You sound great.
Because in my head it sounds like quite like deeper than what I normally sound.
Yeah, you do sound Barry White-ish.
Yeah. And I like that, you know.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Third Wheel. I'm one of your hosts, Hamish.
And I'm your other host, Aaron.
And today we're joined out by a call out from Priya's episode called RJ. Would you like to introduce yourself a little?
Hey guys, what's happening? I'm RJ, radio presenter from Croydon FM, also part of the BBC Asian Network Represents. So yeah, big up to you guys.
That was a good intro. Normally everyone's like, oh, how do I intro myself? Like, what do I say?
You're barring the other 90 guests. Say no more.
Hey, listen.
Yeah. Honestly, I am, man.
we've hit a new level now. Come on, guys.
Yeah. 91st episode, man.
Do you know what it is? It's like I always try and hit it on a neutral level and then build it up, if that makes sense. Sometimes when you start high energy, it either becomes exhausting for you to continue that energy or it goes down. Do you get me? Whereas if you start low and then work up, it can, like, I don't know. That's what I found.
Yeah. No, there probably is. There is probably something in that, actually. But yeah, cool. In the intro, I was kind of like taken aback a bit by the actual intro itself. Yeah. You mentioned there you were a presenter.
Yeah, that's right. So basically, I'm a radio presenter on Croydon FM, which is like a local radio station. Absolutely doing amazing things at the moment. And I am a part of the BBC Asian Network, what they call Represents program. So starting from January, so the program's already started, where they've basically, in 12 months, they've got 12 different presenters taking over and they're going to do like one show a week. And I am luckily super blessed to be a part of that. So in January, I'll be hosting my own radio show on BBC Asian Network.
Oh, wicked. January 2022.
Yes.
Wicked. Do you know what the show is yet? Oh, is that secret? Is that secret?
It is. Okay, but basically, it's going to be a lot of what I already do. So on top of playing, like, I love music, but I'm not a DJ, if that makes sense. So I love like embracing music, playing music and all of that. But at the same time, for me, it's also about conversations. So yeah, I just want to have like fun, interesting conversations with people. And like, I'm going to throw a lot more in, but a lot of it's like, you know, top secret. So,
yeah, we'll keep it hush hush. So then what are you doing like at the moment?
So at the moment, I'm still working on a few creative things. I'm in the process of setting up my own kind of, similar to you guys, my own kind of podcast situation. And I'm constantly looking for like ideas and stuff like that. But the main thing I am doing at the moment is I'm doing Croydon FM. And yeah, like in the background, I also like help people with creative strategies and stuff like that. And I also go to like schools and give talks. Yeah, I feel like I do 100 things, but when people are like, oh, so what do you do? I'm like, oh yeah, I just do this one thing. And then all of a sudden, 5 minutes down the line, they're like, oh, I never knew you did this. I never knew you did this. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, I just do my things, man.
Literally.
Croydon FM, that's cool. We had a guest on, a good friend of ours, like near the beginning from Croydon.
Oh, sick.
I think we give her, I don't feel like I do, but I know we like is in the group, kind of give her a lot of shit for Croydon.
Well, everyone gives Croydon shit, fam. I
can't remember giving Croydon shit.
So basically, I'll be honest with you. When I was growing up, I want to sound like an old man now, like back in my day, yeah. But when I was growing up, yeah, Croydon was so amazing, yeah. Right now, it's not the best area, but it's always going to be like home for me.
I know you mean.
I'm always going to rep it. And yeah, weirdly though, I wasn't actually born in Croydon, which a lot of people don't know. People just assume I'm born in Croydon, but
where were you born?
I was born in Bolton.
Bolton?
Yeah.
That's like, yeah, quite north, isn't it? Like near Manchester area?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Okay, when did you like move?
I was quite young, so I was about 6 years old. So what happened is that my dad, well, both my parents used to work, and my dad was like an engineer, and he used to work in all of these factories. So a lot of people will know that up in like Manchester, Bolton, Preston, there used to be loads of factories that used to like produce all these different products. But then as things were going over to China, like slowly everything was moving over to China because naturally it's cheaper. What happened is that my dad was transitioning from job to job to job. And it just, like obviously it's fine when you're young, but when you got wife and kids and all of that, you need a bit more structure. So we moved from Bolton to London. And at the time, I remember like it wasn't easy at all because obviously, living costs are quite different.
Yeah.
But even little things like for me, like I've never spoke about this, but for me, I had quite a thick, like I used to speak like Amir Khan. And like when you're a little kid and you go into school and they're like, why do you talk funny? And
wait, are we talking about Amir Khan, the Bollywood actor, or Amir Khan,
no, the boxer? Yeah, so his accent's quite like, Yeah, so that's how I used to speak. And then, like when you're in school, kids are like, but that's not how the rest of us sound.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I can't imagine like Bolton being very diverse either.
No, do you know what?
Or was it?
Actually, when I grew up, it wasn't, but now it is very.
Yeah.
But also, do you know what it is? It was a very, very friendly, like, it's like, anywhere out of London, and I love London, like, London's my heart and soul, yeah. But anywhere out of London, you will find, it's like, when you're walking down the street, it's like people will be like, oh, good morning. And whereas in London, if someone says it to you, whereas
Hamish
in
has
London,
said this,
yeah, when someone says good morning, you're like, what are you after?
So that was like around, you said six years old.
Yeah. Are you going to make me reveal my age?
No, you don't have to. Unless you can freely reveal if you want, but you don't have to.
I'm actually curious now, but...
No, it's cool. I was born in 1990, so I'm 31, so 1996. Easy maths for you guys.
So then you're 6 years old and then getting into like media. So actually kind of Manchester in the north's kind of like, Manchester especially, it's kind of grown for like media work. I know like a lot of television studios are there, aren't they?
Yeah, so to be honest with you, I mean, this obviously I was 6 years old, so but it's different times. But now, so BBC used to have their building in White City, and a lot of that moved to Manchester. So in Manchester, there's this place called Media City, and the majority of BBC has gone there. But I think it's also other brands have also gone there.
Yeah.
So yeah, Manchester's kind of really taken on a lot of the media stuff.
So then when was like your kind of first inclinations of getting into like a creative kind of field and media? Or were there other kind of possibilities growing up? Were you thinking other like avenues, or is it kind of was the first thing?
Actually, there's a very funny story. Growing up, you won't believe this. So, like everybody growing up, they're like, yeah, I want to be a footballer. Like, I want to be like, my best friend was like, I want to be a stuntman. Like his whole life since we were like 5 years old. He's like, he wanted to be a stuntman in movies. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I want to be a stuntman. I want to be a stuntman. And when people turn around and ask me, I was always like, I want to be a lawyer. And people are like, oh, that's so boring, bro. Like, why do you want to be a lawyer? Like, I remember girls saying, I want to be on TV. Like, I want to be a pop star. And I was like, no, but I want to be a lawyer. Like, and that was just in my head since I was like, I don't know, like 6, 7 years old. And then literally, I'm not even kidding. My high school, so basically I didn't go to a good high school at all. And it resulted in me getting some awful GCSEs. And do you know what? I mean, this is quite a big statement to make, but it was one of the lowest moments in my life. Because but also I think a big thing to say is it was the biggest awakening in my life as well. Because I'm probably being a bit too hard on myself, but until I got those bad GCSEs, I always kind of like just scraped by life. Do you get me? And you just always like skim by, and then, and I think what happened is when I got to about year 10, I could feel myself, like obviously do all your GCSE preps in like year 10. And I could feel like this isn't going in the right direction that I wanted to go. So what I did is I like actually got a tutor. And so every week I used to have a tutor come to my house, and we spent bare money on tutoring, like a lot of money on tutoring. And, like my family, Like we're blessed, we're good, yeah, but we're not like super rich at the same time. Do you get me? So we spent a lot of money on tutoring. And I remember when I picked up my GCSEs, like the most guiltiest part I felt about wasn't even the fact that I got the bad results, is the fact that my family spent all of this money on tutoring and I still got the bad results. And I remember picking up my results. My dad was waiting outside for me and it was so mad because I got it and I opened it and it was so bad. And I remember he was like ringing me like, where are you? Where are you? Like, it's been like half an hour. Like, you were supposed to walk in and walk out.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, but I didn't even have the guts. Like, I didn't even, literally, this is going to sound so silly. I wanted to run away, like, in that moment.
No, I get you.
And I think when that moment happened, that was it. Like, I was like, do you know what? Like, I need to fix up everything in my life.
So were you still thinking, like, lawyer at that point?
No, well, at that point, it was written off, to be honest.
But, like, before you got the results, was it like...
No, I think what happened is that, so the lawyer bit, it seemed more and more difficult. And then what happened is that I actually got an opportunity to do media as a GCSE. And it was so crazy because every time I had to do every other subject, there was 2 subjects I absolutely loved. Maths and media, I absolutely love.
That's a funny combo.
Yeah.
I know, I'm Indian, innit? Even now, like, you won't believe it. I know people that have been to like a uni and done pure maths, but when it comes to crunching numbers, yeah, believe me, like I'll crunch numbers in like 5-10 minutes. Only because I'm super stingy and Indian, innit?
I'm in my head, I'm imagining, did you ever watch Everybody Hates Chris?
Yeah.
And
literally, I'm the
Terry
dad.
Crews,
I'm
the
not
dad,
even
like
kidding.
just counting money as like it's people eating food and stuff.
Yeah, I'm like, that's £4.25 worth of paneer.
Yeah. But yeah, so the media GCSE, where you're like, okay, this is pretty cool.
I did the media GCSE, and do you know the thing with the media GCSE? It never seemed like work. Like, every other subject, you're like, oh man, I've got to do work. I've got to sit down. I've got to put effort. I've got to put energy into this. But when I did media GCSE, it was just like, it felt effortless and I had fun doing it. And I remember, so what basically ended up happening is I then ended up going to college and doing media at a BTEC. So this is another thing that I've never really openly told anyone. But so I ended up doing BTEC. And I remember struggling to pick whether I wanted to do business or whether to do media. And in the end, actually, I remember having this conversation. It was actually my dad, turned around and he's like, well, if you find this easy and you enjoy it, then just naturally pick that path.
That's really nice.
And so, yeah, and especially like, coming from a brown this year home and like all of those things. And so I remember doing media. And when I went into college, one of the first things we ever did was we had to make a radio advert. And this is like such a crazy story, but I remember just stepping into a radio studio and it sounds mad, but I had a bit of an epiphany. And I was literally like, this is it. Like, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And it sounds crazy, but I've had ups and downs, but I've kind of never looked back because I was like, I just had this such like glowing rush of feelings. And I was just like, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. And you can kind of say the rest is history, but there's a lot in between as well. I think what it came down to is just the fact that, to me, it felt effortless for me doing it. And I got the best results in it. So I was like, in my head, it just makes sense because I'm not finding it hard work. I mean, it is hard work, but it's like, it's not like someone saying to me, like, oh, can you write 4,000 words about, the evolution of headphones? Like, did you get me? So it was easier for me to do it, and I was getting amazing results. So naturally, I was like, well, why not just do something that you enjoy? And even till today, like I meet so many people who turn around and they're like, oh yeah, like I've got this and I've got this. I've got a house, I've got a car. And I'm like, but I always turn around to people and I'm like, but are you happy?
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they struggle to answer that because And even recently, like I was talking to two of my best friends. They work in work in the corporate sector in finance. And the other day we were talking about like retirement plans, and they're like, yeah, we can't wait to retire. Like, they've got properties and like they're doing really, really well in life. And as a creative, you don't always have those opportunities. Very rarely do you have but ultimately what it comes down to is they were like saying, oh, we're going to work extra hard so that we can retire by 45, 50. And I was like, the saddest day of my life will be the day that someone has to turn around and tell me to retire, because I just love what I do so much.
Do you think you'll love it though when you're like 45 or 50? Or?
Yes, 100%. I'm telling you, and this is the thing, when you unlock something that you absolutely love, you're going to have up days and you're going to have down days. But ultimately, when you have something that you absolutely love, I'm trying to think how to say it, but it feels weird not to love it. It's kind of like, the best way I can describe it, it's like me going back home. So it's like when I've done all of these things with BBC, every time I step foot in that building, I feel like, yes, I'm back home. Do you get me?
Yeah, that's nice.
And there's nothing I can do. A lot of people, they love to travel. And this is one of the things we spoke about in the come up to this was, I think Hamish messaged me and he's like, oh, so do you do a lot of traveling? And I'm like, no, I don't. And I said, the reason why I don't I'm not against it at all. Everybody loves a holiday. But the thing with it is, a lot of people use holidays as a distraction. But when you love what you do, you don't need a distraction. Do you get me?
Yeah, I haven't really thought of it like that. But yeah, that does make sense.
And this is the thing, you won't believe it. When I'm away on holiday, in the past, I remember I've been in Turkey and I've been listening into Croydon FM and I've been listening into
Croydon FM, wondering who's this listener in Turkey listening to Croydon FM?
Yeah, literally. You'd be surprised though, we get listeners all over the world. Just 2 weeks ago, someone messaged me from Kerala in India. And he's like, yo, bro, can you play my song on your show? And I was like,
the time difference as well. Mad.
Yeah, and he was just and I was like, listen. And you know what? He made a banging tune, and I was like, the secret evil side of me, I would never do this. The secret evil side of me wanted to be like, yo, can you send me that beat? And I trust me, I could have made £1 million from that beat. But I'd never do that. I'd never do that.
No. Yeah, I think what you said there was kind of we've touched on it. I think we've debated it in the past, kind of whether people should kind of, I think a lot of people who kind of, where you say you ask them are you happy now? But they're saying maybe not now, but I will be happy in the future at some point because they'll have more money to spend on things and to be able to do stuff that maybe we can't do or maybe potentially ever do. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what? My life has kind of taken a very weird ups and downs where so for example, I had a retail job when I was 16 years old and I literally came out of school. And as soon as I came out of school, during the summer holidays, I had 2 weeks to chill. And then literally I got a job full time just to cover summer holidays. And I used to work in Chelsea, Sloane Square.
Chelsea, that's a fancy area, innit?
And I used to wear a suit. And you know what? Even if you look at, if you go on my Instagram, you'll see me wearing loads of different suits. And I love wearing a suit. I wear hoodies and tracksuits and stuff like that. But I love wearing a good suit. But the thing with it was, because I was in Chelsea, I used to come across some of the richest people in the world. And it was weird because it's when you work around these people, you get kind of a grasp into their reality. And I've had a couple of retail jobs. So I worked in Chelsea, but at one stage I also worked in Mayfair as well.
Okay, that's two. That's one place to another, man.
Yeah, and to be honest, they weren't fancy jobs at all.
Yeah.
I don't want people to think, oh, this guy, I was still saying, would you like a bag with that? But ultimately, I was positioned in these areas, and a lot of people, and this is the thing, a lot of people, I would come across some of the richest people in the world. But ultimately, when it comes down to genuine in your heart and soul happiness, a lot of these people, like, you can drive a Ferrari, but unless you're happy in your heart and soul, and this is why some of the richest people in the world, they'll go to like Budapest and they'll go to India trying to, find this happiness. And I think the biggest awakening I had like that was when I went to India about 3-4 years ago. And I remember just stopping and staring at this like shanty town. And it was like, literally all it was poles and, plastic sheets for like as far as the eye can see. But they were the happiest people I've ever seen in my life. And they were like, and literally, you won't believe it, just opposite the street, there was like these buildings which were like easily over 10 million. Do you get me?
Yeah, I've seen pictures where it's like, it's in India.
Oh, it's horrendous, man. Like
the differences, like the slums and like the rich areas, like being right next to each other. And
like, it literally, I'm not kidding. There was like Phantoms and Ferraris and Range Rovers pulling into this building. And literally their view outside is a massive shanty town.
Yeah.
Like a favela, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like a favela, yeah. So I think, for me, yeah, it was always go a bit deeper and try and find something that you ultimately love. And, I'd never normally say this at work, yeah, but what I used to do at BBC was, so I was a radio producer at BBC. So what I used to do at BBC, I always say, I was like, I've done this for free for so long that considering you're paying me to do this, it's the biggest blessing in the world. Did you get me?
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest mindsets I always have, like I remember even being inside the building, this guy came up to me once and he was like, "You're always so happy, man. Like, why are you always so happy?" And you know what I said to him? I said, "Listen, you need to understand." So I graduated uni. And again, even when I went to uni, so I did media studies as a BTech in college, and I did it for 3 years. So again, because I got bad GCSEs, I did a BTech first, just to be able to get which is level 2, just to be able to get into level 3 to do. And I did a BTech national, and when I did my BTech national, I remember getting to the end of it, and they're like, so the minimum grades I needed to get into university was what they call distinction merit. And they're like, "Oh, congratulations, you've got a distinction merit." Now, the thing with it was, I wanted to prove this thing to myself. So my teachers turn around and they're like, "Great, you've got what you needed, have a good summer, have a great life." And I was like, "Miss, do you know what? Yeah, I know I got what I need, but I want to get a triple distinction before I walk out." And she's like, "But why? Like, you've got what you needed to do. You've got into university. Like, you're good." Even like all my class, they're like, "Fam, what are you doing, fam? Like just go home, man. Enjoy your summer, innit?"
Yeah, go on those holidays, man.
Literally. And I was like, "Nah, miss, I want to get a triple distinction." And you know what that was? I needed to prove it to myself. And so this is going to sound like the corniest thing anyone's ever said to you. But my teacher's like, "Look, you can do it, but I'm not going to help you. Like, I'm not going to sit here for hours and hours trying to help you do this, because I've got to help students get into uni." And I was like, "All right, cool." So, you know what? And the worst thing was, technology isn't as great as it was now. Old man sentence again. So all of my work, I used to save on my uni computer on my login. So again, like I'm going to say, this is the corniest thing you're ever going to hear. I used to sneak in to college at like 7:30 in the morning. Yeah. And I remember trying to swerve the bodyguards, like, and I used to sneak into college, log in, just so I can like improve all of my work.
So the college is over, right?
No. So basically what happens is when you do BTech, it doesn't actually finish till July, yeah. But in a May, when you do BTech, what happens is around May, you have what they call a review. And so at that point, they go, "This is where you're standing. In order for you to get into uni by July," so July is like your end result, "you're going to have to get your grades from here to here. But if you already hit your mark by May," they were like, "Cool, man, like you can go on your way." That way we can focus on the students.
Oh, so you can like
haven't
literally
volunteered.
stop.
Yeah, because you've got what you needed to do. You're done.
I think that's more acceptable, to be fair.
And then, do you know what? Like, once I had that epiphany moment, I was like, I wanted to do radio. And I remember just wanting to do radio more than anything in the world. And at the time, like, there was this huge, I don't want to say the word pressure, but it's like everybody had to go to uni. Like, if you didn't go to uni, not even in like, you know, the brown community, like even like amongst friends, like they were like, everyone has to go to uni. And like, there's people who did like, you know, PE at uni and like, you know, those people. I remember one of my mates, he did some police course in uni. So, but we were all just trying to get a degree. Does that make sense?
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, literally. So I went to uni and I remember doing media production, but my one specialized in radio production. And that was at Westminster.
Do you think you needed to go uni to do what you're doing now?
Honestly, no. And actually, funny story related to that. So yeah, you don't need to go to uni at all to do what I do. In actuality, I don't want to say, like saying it's a waste of time is a huge disrespect because the course was good. However, the people on my course were very, very ruthless in the sense that I think when people came into the course, and a lot of people in my course, they were older, so they'd been in the working environment and they felt like they needed a degree and whatever. So like some people in my course were like 25 years old. And I was just like, you know, how old are you when you go to uni? Like 18, 19. And I remember literally like, if you've ever watched The Apprentice, what it's like in the boardroom, that's what it was like when I went to uni. Like everyone was ruthless as hell. Like, and they were constantly like backstabbing each other, but then they'd all live together in one house. And I'm like, but you know, like I was like, I can't live in this kind of environment. You got a bear snake. Yeah. A few of them are probably going to listen to this, but the worst thing was
Call them out.
Liz, we're not doing that. You're a good interviewer because I nearly fell for it. I nearly started going.
We look for the drama and drama gets views.
Yeah.
No, but I'll be honest with you. Some of the people, they were mad snaky, yeah. And funny little story, yeah. Like my parents don't even know this. My mom was right here. But a funny little story. I'd made my mind up that I was like, you know what? Forget this. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to drop out of uni. I wrote, and then I literally went to the office and I'm like, I want to drop out of uni. And the woman, she didn't even care, you know. She was like, yeah, that's fine. All you need to do is you need to write a letter and just submit it to us and that's fine. You're all done. And I was like, at least show me a bit of empathy.
Yeah.
At least try and keep me in it.
Yeah, show you want me, man. I want to feel wanted. So,
this is going to turn into therapy now.
yeah.
But yeah, so literally she's like, yeah, all you need to do is write a letter, just submit the letter to us and then you're done. So I remember I went home.
You know, that might be the tactic, you know, when people are like, oh, I want to drop out of uni. If they show like no kind of like, yeah, fine, then it might actually kind of make you be like, oh, shit, okay, I'll stay then, you know?
Maybe.
That might be the tactic to play.
But yeah, basically what happened, I remember writing the letter and I got to uni that day and I was late. And what happened is everybody had 10 o'clock lectures and I'd literally got to this, like my train station. So I went to Westminster, but I call it Westminster, but I was in Harrow because I was on the Harrow campus. So I used to be in Norfolk Park. And anyway, so as I'm walking up, I see this journalist from the BBC. And I was like, hello, you know. And so as the thing is, she's trying to get interviews, like vox pops of people. But because she'd come after uni started, what happened is that everyone's blanking because everyone's just trying to get into uni because they're running late for classes and that. So basically what happened is I was like, I need to speak to this woman. And she was brown as well. So I was like, yeah, you know, a little bit, you know, I can stretch it like, a little bit more. And I remember meeting her and she was like, she asked me a question. And, you know, like when we do what, you know, like we do, I knew what she wanted from an answer. So I just gave her like the perfect reply. And she's like, oh, so what do you do? And like, we just started chit-chatting. And I said, look, to be honest with you, I'm doing this radio media production course. But I said, I'm actually going to drop it today. And she goes, please don't drop it. She goes, take my card, send me an email. She goes, please continue doing it. Like, don't give up on it. And she goes, drop me an email. And I was like, look, you know what? I'd love to do some like anything for BBC. And she goes, drop me an email and I'll see what I can do. So I was like, all right, cool. So literally I get into uni, and you know, a lot of what I've done in my life has been out of like being stupid and innocent. So literally I got into uni, and instead of like planning it properly and structuring a good email, I literally walked into uni and I was like, hey, I'm the guy you met 10 minutes ago.
Man, but that's so like, I don't know if you consider it lucky or fate or like coincidence.
Yeah, this is the
what.
thing. And she turned around to me, and I remember her emailing me back straight away going, hey, I do remember you from 10 minutes ago. And she was like, and even in the email, she turned around and she's like, listen, please don't give up on your course. She's like, continue doing what you're doing. And she goes, in the meantime, I'll try and find you some kind of work experience, blah, 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 blah. But she goes, please don't give up on your course. And she literally wrote it in capitals, please don't give up on your course. So then I thought, well, if I do, she probably won't give me the work experience and all of that. So I continued going through uni. Bro, 3 months down the line, I didn't hear anything from this lady. And I was like,
she
just lied to me.
Fucking snake.
Like, literally all of that, yeah. And then all of a sudden, I got a phone call, and I'm like, private number. And I'm like, hello? And then this lady phoned me, and she was like, hi, I'm just ringing from the BBC. We were just wondering if you'd like to come in and do a film review for like a Bollywood film. And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, I was just trying to get in the building. So I was like, yeah, sure. So I went to the cinema and I watched the film. And then off the back, like I remember going to the studios, and it was mad. Like, I was over the moon, and it was like the best feeling in the world. And I remember the first time I stepped into the building, again, I had like one of these moments where I felt like this is where I'm meant to be.
Yeah.
Like, it was mad. Like, how can you walk into a building and feel like it's home? Does that make sense?
No, I felt that when I walked into Old Trafford once. Like, it's definitely like, I felt it, but like, it definitely wasn't home.
No, but it, in a weird way, I mean,
I ain't playing,
you know,
I'm playing up front for him.
But yeah, so I walked in, and then I did a thing where I was doing film reviews, and I ended up, I enjoyed it so much. And this is the thing, I enjoyed it so much. And they were like, wow, like, you know, and the thing with it was, because I consider myself to be quite confident and like, you know, all of that. They were like, a lot of people are nervous, and like, they're like, your energy was just great. And they were like, oh, do you want to make this into like a regular thing? And I was like, yeah, like I'd love to. So then I was like going, not like every week, but fairly regularly, like a couple of times a month, I'd go in and do film reviews. And then off the back of that, producer who was like making the show, I turned around to her and I was like, look, I really want to do the radio thing. Like, I'd love to get some work experience. And so she got me work experience.
Wait, so these film reviews, were they audio, video, written?
Audio. So It was on radio.
Yeah.
But what would happen is basically every week, so I don't know if you guys know this, but in Bollywood, there's pretty much a new film that releases, sometimes 3 film release every week.
What, like it, as in that's like a thing, like every week it's
in
like,
the cinemas. Yeah.
Oh shit. Like how you have like music on the Friday, like new music on Friday. It's like that, but...
Yeah, okay. Pretty much. Every Friday, there's a new, at least minimum one Bollywood film released in the cinema.
Oh, mad.
Not now during like COVID and all of that, but traditionally there always has been.
And were you a Bollywood fan when they asked you to do the first like Bollywood film review?
So being honest with you, I'd watched Bollywood films, but I wasn't like crazy obsessed Bollywood. But I was just like, oh, they're probably going to watch this back now and be like, this guy lied to us. Yeah. But at the time, I was just like, look, anything to get me in.
Yeah.
Like, I'm down. Do you get me?
Yeah, I can imagine me being like, they'll be like, hey, do you watch Bollywood? And I'm like, yeah, sure, I love Bollywood, man. Yeah. Amir Khan, Shah Rukh Khan, all them, man.
But ultimately, what it came down to was your honest review of the film.
Yeah.
So, like, there was bare times where I went in and I was like, and this is the thing, like, when you go to these environments, they're not just looking for a yes man as well. Because I used to turn around, and sometimes I remember once the presenters were like, we absolutely loved the film. Like, it was so amazing. And I was like, what? Are you mad? Like, it was whack. And again, like you said, like, it's controversial.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like I'm representing a particular type of people, whereas they represent, like different generations and the different, backgrounds and stuff like that. And this is a big thing. Like I always turn around and tell people, like, a lot of people are like, oh, there's not enough, like it's hard to find work experience and like all of these things. And I say to them, I'm like, listen, believe it or not, they need you in a weird way. They need you more than you need them sometimes. Because if they don't get that younger generation's perspective on things, they will very quickly get left behind. So sometimes they do need you just as much as you need them.
And then, because you said there, like, you thought like, it was whack. Can you actually speak like that on like BBC, or do they do you have to kind of like tone it down?
So I think it depends on which shows you're on. Like there's certain shows so the show that I was working on was like a Bollywood specialist show. And so to be honest with you, I used to be a bit more professional on that show, but I remember getting some work experience off the back of that. So I turned around to the producer and I was like, I'd love to get some work experience. So on that show, I was very like professional and I was very like, you speak proper English and like all of those things. But then as a part of my work experience, I also worked with like Candyman and Limelight. And I don't know if you're aware of Candyman and Limelight, but they're like two presenters and they're like proper, like, gangsters. And like, they kind of play like hip hop rap and like, So I remember the first time meeting them and I was like, oh, good afternoon. I hope you're well. And they're like, what are you talking about, fam? Like, get away from me, bruv. Yeah. And I was like, and I remember literally one of the two, so Limelight, DJ Limelight, he was like, you know what, yeah, you look like Eddie Guerrero, yeah? And he was just rinsing me.
Just a roast session.
And I was like thinking, I'm trying to be professional. I'm in the BBC. Like, this guy's a presenter. Yeah. I'm just on work experience. I'm going to get kicked out the building. And then literally I was like, but that there's lines and levels in it, yeah? And don't forget, I'm from Croydon. So like, I've still got that side of me in it, yeah? And I've just come out of high school and college, so you can't beat me at cussing, do you get me, yeah? So I turned around and I turned around to, I think it was Candyman, and I was like, bro, look at your bean head, bro, yeah?
Wait, is this on radio? This isn't saying like live on air,
this isn't live on radio. This is like just when I was
that would have been scenes,
yeah?
Man.
And I was like, bro, look at your bean head, yeah? And I think when I started cussing them back, yeah,
respect. They got more.
Yeah,
respect.
and that's what it was. And then they were like, you know what, you're cool, bro, you're cool, yeah.
That's true.
And this is another thing. Like, I remember I got work experience, and then it was crazy because near the end of it, one of the producers at the time, he was like, so I worked on what they call the Rajen Pablo show, which is the Bollywood show. And then I worked on Candyman and Limelight. It was called Mic Check. And that's all about like rappers and like, so a lot of people don't know this, but like Candyman and Limelight were one of the first people to bring gigs into the BBC building. They were one of the first people to bring like gets onto radio. Like, so even though they come from a brown background, like they were the first people to bring a lot of this talent into the BBC building. And so I worked on those two shows and I worked on Punjabi Hit Squad's show. And I remember at the end of it, one of the producers was like, do you want to be in a music video? And I was like, whose music video? And they're like, this is before I met Punjabi Hit Squad, yeah? And they're like, Punjabi Hit Squad. And I was like, no way, the Punjabi Hit Squad. And they're like looking at me like, why are you getting gas for? Yeah. Like, but you can't help it, innit? Because growing up, I always used to listen to Punjabi Hit Squad, yeah? And I was like, no way, the Punjabi Hit Squad, yeah? And they're like, he's like, why are you shouting?
Yeah, like maybe we shouldn't ask him.
Yeah, literally. And yeah, like I was in Punjabi Hit Squad's music video. It's called Miss Sonia.
Oh shit, can we see, like, wait, let me see if I can.
Yeah, do you want to get it out?
Let me see if I can find it.
One thing that's so important, and I say this to people all the time, yeah, is a lot of people use the word networking all the time. And I hate the word networking. So I always turn around to people and I'm like, never network, create relationships. And to this day, I remember even having my ups and downs in life, I always used to ring up like Shubnam and be like, oh, so how's the family? Like all of those things. And I remember once I rang up this lady Shubnam and I'm like, hey, I thought I haven't spoken to you in a long time. And it was genuine. Like, I wasn't being fake. Like, I genuinely care in it, yeah? So I rang her up and I'm like, hey, I just wanted to like see how you were. Like, I haven't spoken to you in a long time. And she's like, yeah, I'm good. So, and she goes, so what can I do for you? And I'm like, no, I just genuinely like rang just to like see how you were. And she's like, no, but like, what do you need? And I was like, nothing. Like, I'm just genuine. And she goes, do you know what, Rajen? She goes, in the last 6 years, nobody's just rang me just to see how I am. She goes, normally when people ring and go, how are you? It means I need something of you. So I'm just going to do the quick introduction before I get to my point.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, like when you create relationships with people, naturally they're going to want to do things for you, but it comes from a place of love. It's not coming from a place of like, I need something. And so I always tell people, I'm like, yeah, create relationships.
You know what's mad? Is like that actually makes me think about like work conversations with people like message you like on Skype here, and they're like, "Hi, how are you?" But you know, like you don't ever speak to them, and you know it's purely they're gonna ask for something, yeah, but they expect you to reply first. I'm like, I always tell my team, yeah, like please don't message me like this ever. Just tell me what you want, yeah. because honestly, life will be so much easier than me having to go back and forth on a Skype message, yeah. So the people who I'd say like, oh, I'm good friends with, they'll obviously message me separately on WhatsApp as needed, but at work here, they'll just message what they need because it makes more sense than to bloody message me, hey, how are you? Wait for my response. It's just like, fucking just tell me what you want. You get me? Like, because the how are you thing is just like, you're basically asking a question, but you didn't really care in the first place. You just wanted something. You wanted something, but
you need an opener.
Instead of asking for it,
you need an opener.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to have to go through a unnecessary back and forth and also say, how are you as well. I'd rather just say like, hope you're well. Give my point because I'm not here to have a conversation with you. So
but
like,
it's small talk, isn't it?
Yeah, like there's no need for this like one extra line or 2 extra lines of conversation at work here. Like it's fine. Like I'm fine with it. You could just drop me the thing, tell me what you want, it's done, and cool, carry on. So yeah, I can get that point. Like she was probably it's like embedded into culture because I think people try to make like soften the blow before asking something, but
yeah,
like it's work. Like it's just work. Just say what you gotta say.
Yeah, like, and this is the thing. Like when I did work experience, you kind of, once you're in, you kind of forget that you are work experience.
Yeah.
So I was like chilling out with people at One Extra and like chilling out with people from Asian Network. And like, I was having the time of my life. And then literally my 2 weeks were over and they're like, okay, thank you. Keep in touch.
Really?
Yeah. And it wasn't from a bad place. Like, I understand they're busy people, in it. Yeah.
But was there not like any kind of conversations like to potentially stay on or?
To be honest with you, I did try at the time, but at the time they were just like, look, at the moment, there's no kind of opportunities. They were like, keep in touch. And then, when things pop up, we can try and like, see what we can do. And again, you don't want to create like, so I just left it at that. And and then I was just like, every opportunity I could find. But I was still doing the Bollywood reviews, so I wasn't too like, upset, if that makes sense. And then I remember finishing uni, and then I'm like, I actually need to find a job now. Do you get me? And it's not like a normal job where you're like, oh, let me just apply online for this job and then I'll get the job. With a lot of media things, you have to, there's only a job if there's a job opportunity. Do you get me? So again, I was asking for like work experience and internships and like all of these things. And every so often, I was that guy that I was still doing retail and I was still like working in the background. And again, I managed to get myself work experience. And I thought, oh, sick, I'm back in the building, like all of these things. And I remember finishing the work experience. And the thing with it is, a lot of this stuff I approached quite, I don't want to use the word stupidly, but quite innocently. And I turned around and at the end, I had a kind of like final review meeting with the lady. And she was like, look, you know what? You're great. You've got good intentions and all of that. But she goes, being honest with you, at the moment, you're not really adding a lot of value to what we're doing. She goes, it seems like we're doing you a favor rather than you doing us a favor.
Was she like that blunt?
Yeah. I wish that's the most blunt conversation. I've had a lot more worse blunt conversations than that.
Yeah.
But she goes, you need to basically get to a position where you're adding value to what we're doing. Otherwise, it's pointless you even being here. And it's very tricky because when you go to work experience, you don't want to seem like I'm Mr. Know-It-All.
Yeah.
But then you don't also want to be like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I think it's quite a fine balance. So, like the old saying, like people often say, oh, just fake it till you make it. Yeah. Worst piece of advice anyone can ever give you. Because believe me, I remember once, and I've never ever said this, and like you lot are squeezing a lot of juice out of me. Don't take that in the wrong way.
Okay.
But I remember like turning around, someone rang me once and they were like, oh yeah, are you able to do this and do this and do this? And I was like, yeah, of course I can, yeah. And literally I got myself in and they're like, okay, do it. And I was like, let me just, and I'm like trying to find like Google, like YouTube, like tutorials on how to do it and stuff like that. And I remember them pulling me up and going, look, if you don't know what you're doing, like, don't waste our time. Like, but I'm just trying to get myself in the building.
Yeah.
You get me?
To me, I've probably been guilty of that, like the fake it till you make it kind of thing, where like I might say I can do something that I can't do, but I will like kind of figure it out and be able to.
And then so basically I had one of the most horrible experiences where they were like, look, if you don't know what you're doing, just tell us now. And in a nice way, they went, just leave, kind of a thing, yeah. And I remember walking out of that situation, and I'm not even kidding, yeah. Bit gross, but I threw up everywhere, thinking this is it, and like I've blown it. Because I was so like, I can't believe what's happened. I may not get another opportunity out of this. Like, this is probably it. And I felt so like, kind of in a way disgusted in myself. Do you get me? Yeah. But at the end of the day, like someone rings you and goes, yeah, can you do this? But like back in the day, people are like, yeah, just fake it till you make it. Just get yourself in and then, learn on the job. Yeah. So after that moment, I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to do everything in my power to become the best at this job. So I went and I bought all the software. I started getting involved in projects. I started like doing all of these things. And I got to the position where like I learned that if I ever get offered any of these opportunities ever again, I know I will smash it. Do you get me?
You won't have to fake it because you
exactly.
know that kind of thing.
And so a couple of years later, and I remember I was doing all of these things with BBC and I was just struggling to get in. And then all of a sudden, one of my best friends, he turned around and he's like, Capital are running this program. It's called Music Potential, where basically it's like an open event. You turn up and then you can get selected to do this radio course. And off the back of the course, they're going to be offering jobs to people. So I was like, sick. So then I went for this. I was trying to apply for it, but the only opportunities at the time, London had been booked up. So the only opportunities available were in Birmingham. So I was like, cool, let's go Birmingham. And this is the thing, like I've wanted to be a part of this industry so badly.
Yeah.
It was like a lot of people were like, oh, but Birmingham's far, man. And I was like, I don't care. Wherever the job is, I'm going. Did you get me?
Yeah.
So I applied for this thing called Music Potential and you won't believe it. So I got on the kind of course. It was like a 2-week course, yeah. No, sorry, it was a 6-week course, yeah. And you won't believe the funniest thing. I'd actually booked a holiday halfway through this course, like about a couple of months before. So I was meant to be in Barcelona. Now they made it very clear. They're like, if you miss one session, we'll kick you off the course and there's no further opportunity. Luckily, the course thing, it was only 1 day a week. So it was 6 weeks, but it was only 1 day a week. So you won't believe what I did, yeah? I did my normal holiday. I went to Barcelona. I flew back from Barcelona, landed in Heathrow, took a coach to Birmingham, attended the course, took a coach back to London and flew back to Barcelona.
Really?
to continue the rest of my holiday.
Fucking hell, man. Obviously exhausting.
It is, but listen, you gotta do what you gotta do.
You gotta do it.
And so I finished the 6-week course and they were like...
Do they know that? Like the people kind of running your
You know
course?
what? I didn't tell them at the time. When the 6 weeks ended, they would turn around and they're like, so one of you are going to get a mentor basically a mentor from Capital. And they're like, we're going to decide who gets a mentor. And at that point, I was like, just to let you know.
Just to let you know.
A few weeks ago, you know why I was late? Because I actually took a flight from Boston. And they were like, you're lying. And I was like, literally, I took a picture and I showed them. I was like, look, this is my boarding pass. I flew back just to attend your course.
Did you get the mentor?
And I got the mentor.
And you did? Oh, smashed it.
Yeah. So I did stuff with that mentor. Unfortunately, it didn't quite lead to a job, but I did learn a lot from that particular mentor. And then a year later, they ran the course again, but in London. And because I was still like looking for opportunities, I did the course again, but in London. And I wasn't even sure if you're allowed to do the course twice, if that makes sense. But I was like, Bunny, where there's opportunities, I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
You get me? So I did the course again. And luckily, off the back of that, I got another mentor. And again, what happened is I was so lucky. I remember walking to Global, which is in like Piccadilly, which is where Capital, Classic FM, XFM, like all of these radio stations, they're all in one building. A lot of people don't know that. And I remember going into this building, and what happened is that my first mentor was like someone really high up at Capital. And at the time, I thought, wow, I've got like someone proper high up. Like, I'm easily going to get a job out of this, yeah? But actually what happened, I mean, this isn't in a disrespectful way, but she literally had no time for me because she's like, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do this, I've got to do this, I've got to do this. Like, she literally had, and she's like, do I really want to spend an hour, if not longer, with some guy who just, trying to get some work experience? And so what ended up happening is I did the course again. And I remember we walked into an environment where there was like loads of potential people who could mentor you. So basically you got a chance to speak to them. They got a chance to speak to you. It was a bit like speed dating.
But for mentors.
And I remember at the time I met this girl and she was just doing like marketing at Classic FM. Whereas there was this guy who was like head of Capital. Now, the thing is, you've really got to read the room in these situations. So what happened is there was like a queue of people to meet him.
Yeah.
But this girl who was doing marketing at Classic, nobody was like even approaching her because they're like, I don't want to work on Classic FM. Like, do you get?
Yeah.
But you got to look at what goes beyond that. Yeah. So I just started speaking to her. And what I found out is that she actually, on top of working there, like she was in talks with people at Capital already about her trying to become a presenter. And on top of that, she also had her own local radio show at a radio station called Pulse 88. So she became my mentor. And this is the thing. What I did, I tried to be more tactical. Instead of trying to find the person who's proper high up, for anybody that's ever looking for a mentor, the best person to try and get a hold of essentially is a person who's essentially one level above you. Because what they can do is they can guide you in the right direction rather than if you try and find someone who's proper high up, unless they can give you a job there and then, which most times they can't.
And you might have been in a similar situation where just might have been busy all the time and
they understand what you're going through when they're like one step, because they've probably been through that step like a couple of months or maybe a year before you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I managed to get that. And then off the back of that, yeah, again, like I was doing all of this hustling. I was doing like all these work experiences at random places. And then I started my own Bollywood podcast. Because at the time, you know what, like everybody turned around to me. So the thing with what I always wanted to do was I always wanted to be so in radio, they have two things. So they have either what they call daytime radio or they have specialists. So specialists are like, someone who just focuses on R&B or someone who just focuses on grime or someone who just focuses. Charlie Sloth is what they call a specialist. Or do you get what I mean? Whereas, I don't know if you guys listen to radio like that, but like, you know, your yasa or your harp's core they're more like what they call daytime. So they'll do a little bit of everything. And that's what I was trying to hit. But back in the days, again, old man, back in the days, they were like, you have to have a thing. They're like, if you don't have a thing, then we can't market you and we can't brand you. And because I was doing all these Bollywood film reviews, I was like, well, why don't I just do a Bollywood podcast?
Do you still do it?
No. So this is the thing. Like, so I started doing this Bollywood podcast and I did it for I think I released about 80 episodes.
80?
And I used to do it weekly. Yeah.
Oh, mad.
So, and I used to do it weekly. So I had a Bollywood podcast. And then what I used to do, I used to record my podcast in a studio. And I used to pay for a sound engineer.
Yeah, full works. You didn't it wasn't like a home one.
Yeah. No. Like I used to pay for a sound engineer. I used to pay for studio time. So every Friday, I used to wake up. I used to go studio. I used to record my film review. Then, rewind. So my mentor, she was on radio. So what I used to do, I used to wake up 6 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. And I used to co-host a radio show with her. Cause she's like, come just jump on my radio show. And then we'll be like a duo kind of a thing. So what happened? And every Friday, I used to wake up at 4. And I used to be, I live in Croydon, and I used to be at Wembley at like 5:30 in the morning. And the radio starts at 6 o'clock in the morning. So then I used to get to radio at 6 o'clock in the morning. And then I used to do radio from 6 till 10. Finish radio, then I used to go studio, record my podcast. And then I used to record my podcast till about, 12, 1 o'clock. Then I used to finish that. And then what I started doing is on top of my podcast, I used to do film reviews. So then I used to drive I forgot to mention. So my studio was in Manor House. So I used to go from Wembley to Manor House. Then I went from Manor House, finished my studio session, to Feltham. I used to drive to Feltham from there. And I used to go Feltham Cinema, film a film review. So I used to watch the whole film, Bollywood
film as well. That's like 3 hours, isn't it?
3 hours. And then I'd do a film review straight after the film, straight after watching the film. I used to get in my car, then I used to edit my film review in my car. And then every Friday, I used to release a podcast and I used to release a film review. And that was my Friday, every Friday. And I did this for about a year and a half. Like every week, I used to that was my routine. Like wake up, Wembley, Manor House, Feltham, sit in my car, edit the video, release all of it. Then I used to come home. And you can imagine my sleep was like all over the place. And I did that for about a year and a half. And then this opportunity came up to become a producer at BBC, like Asian Network. And it was like basically like the kind of dream job that I always wanted. And this is a bit of a long story, so I apologize. I know I've talked way too much in this already.
No, you made our life easier, trust me.
But again, feel free to interrupt me as much as you want. But again, so basically what happened is that this job opportunity came up. And I don't know if you've ever filled out one of these job applications, but it's about 8 to 10 pages.
Just for radio, or is that like a general job application?
Well, for most BBC roles, it's about 8
BBC, I think I've like looked to the application for BBC like web engineer or something, web developer, and then realized it was 8 to 9 pages and been like, nah, that's all right. I'll do that tomorrow, and then just never did it.
So I've got like a really crazy story where basically what happened is that, so this opportunity came up and then I went, you know what, I'm going to be really smart about this and I'm going to take my time applying. Because 8 to 10 pages, you can't bang it all out in one night.
Yeah.
So what happened is I started the process and I was doing it bit by bit by bit by bit by bit by bit by bit. And I remember the last section was 300 words. And I remember on like a Friday night thinking, okay, and it was due Sunday, 12 o'clock. Yeah. So this is Friday night. I went, you know what? I'm going to leave it here.
Got time.
I just have to do 300 words. I had work the next day because I was still doing retail. I was like, I'm going to finish work and then I'm going to come home from work and then I'm going to fill in the 300 words and then send it off. So woke up the next morning, went to work, and then all of a sudden my brother-in-law phones me, yeah, and he's like, we're having a barbecue tonight. He goes, come to the barbecue. And I was like, I can't come to no barbecue. I've got to do these 300 words and send off the application, yeah. My parents are like, bro, you can't be disrespectful. They didn't say bro. And my parents are like, you can't be disrespectful. That's your brother-in-law. Your sister's just got married. Like, they've invited us. We have to go to this barbecue. And I was like, do you realize, like, I can't afford not to do this application? And they're like, no, it's fine. You're always up at night. They're like, well, listen, we'll go to the barbecue, come back, do your 300 words and send it off. I feel like I'm making my parents sound irresponsible. But basically, so listen to this, yeah? So what happened? My family picked me up from work. We're driving, and then all of a sudden, my car, which I've had for 9 years, loved my car, broke down. Yeah. And I'm thinking, oh my God, like it's never broken down, just broke down. And I'm like thinking, oh my God, yeah. And I'm thinking, what do? I got my grandma in the car, I got everybody in the car, yeah. So I'm like, you know what? Forget it. I just parked up. Yeah, luckily I parked up and we just get an Uber to my brother-in-law's house. Also, little side note, I'll come back to this. Little side note, I had cricket tickets for India, I think it was India, Pakistan on the Sunday as well, yeah? I'll come back to that.
Okay.
So then what happened is I get to my brother-in-law's house, we have the barbecue, and I'm like, I need to get out of here. But my car's broken down in central London. I can't leave my car there because if it gets to the morning, it's going to get a ticket or it's going to get towed away. So then I phoned my cousin. My cousin's like, yeah, you're coming cricket, innit, tomorrow. And I was like, you know what, at this rate, I don't know if I'm coming cricket. And he's like, no, you have to come cricket. Do you know how many people, like I've said, like who like begged me for this ticket, yeah? And I've said no to them. He's like, do this. Let me come pick you up, yeah? Because he lives in Harrow. He's like, let me come pick you up, yeah? Like near my brother-in-law. He's like, let me come pick you up, yeah? And he goes, we'll go to the car. And he goes, we'll try and get the car fixed, yeah? He drives me to central London. And then at this rate, it's like 10, 11 o'clock at night. He promises to stay with me. My man drops me to central London. He goes, yeah, I'm feeling a bit sleepy, I might go home, yeah? He just leaves me. I ring AA, RAC, yeah? And they're like, yeah, sir, it's going to be about 4 hours. And I'm like, so this is pretty much like 2 a.m., yeah? I'm like sitting there waiting. And stupidly fell asleep. Woke up, I had like 4 missed calls. The guy's like, yeah, I turned up and there was no one around the car. So I left. And I'm like, bruv, like I was sleeping in the car. Do you get me, yeah? Don't forget, I still got to fill in this application.
Yeah.
It's now 2 a.m., yeah? And I remember just saying, God, please, man, like, help me out. You get me, yeah?
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding, yeah? I was like, let me just try and do something. Turned the car and it turned over. It literally turned on. And I was like, I just need to get home as quick as possible. So I drove. What kind of miracle is that, yeah? I drove all the way home.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Parked up. And now it's about 3:30, yeah? And I'm like, okay, it's 3:30. I can do one of two things. I can either wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and do it, or I can just do it now. My dad turned around and he's like, look, you're up, you're awake. He goes, just do it. It won't take long. And, then you can fall asleep. I fill in my 300 words, yeah. Because I knew what I had to say. To be honest.
What was the question? Was it a cover letter or like?
It wasn't a hard question, but it was something along the lines of what would you bring to the role or something like that, yeah. And I know, I knew what I had to say, yeah. So listen to this. I fill in the 300 words, yeah. And I'm like, okay, next stage is just submit. I click next, yeah. Guess what happened?
Oh, it's session timed out or something.
I wish.
Oh.
No, I don't wish it. I click next. It goes, please can you write 2,000 words on why you want this job?
2,000.
At 3:30 in the morning, bro.
I thought 300 words was a long
So
time.
wait, can we just rewind a bit? Your boy left you in Central stranded. Hold on,
That's where you got from that story.
Listen.
Yeah, but like, he's
gets
only in this situation because he got left in Central London, yeah.
No, but he
by
had
himself.
to drop me to my car because I couldn't leave my car in the middle of Central London and my car was broken down.
Yeah, but you're meant to wait with your boys. That's just how it is.
I know, but people get sleepy in it, and like unfortunately. But yeah, so basically, it's about 4:00 now, and I had to write 2,000 words about why I want the job. Yeah. And in that moment, I remember standing up here. Literally, I was sat in my kitchen. I was sat right here, actually. I remember standing up and I just had like a brainwave. And it was kind of like me talking to myself. And in a way, I don't know if people are religious, but in a way, I felt like it was kind of like it was God talking to me, saying, look, if you want this, you'll fill out these 2,000 words and you'll do it. If you don't, just get into bed and go to sleep. And you know what? I always say this. In life, you either want something or you don't.
Do you know what? I think I might have been like, if they had asked me at that point, like, why do you want this job? I'd be like, I'll just start typing out like, do you know what? Let me tell you a story about today, yeah? And this will show how much I want it.
You know, the thing is, yeah, as well, I thought the story was going to take a different turn. When your car broke down, I thought you were just going to pull out your laptop, fill in the 300 words, and then...
I wish I was... You know what? I wish I brought my... You know what? And you know the weirdest thing is, now I'm like that. Like, now, you won't believe it. I take my laptop everywhere with me. But, yeah, so long story short, after telling that whole long story, there's also another bit attached to it. But long story short, I did the 2,000 words. All of a sudden, it hit 6 a.m., yeah? And I remember it's 6 a.m. I've done everything. I've done the 2,000 words. Yeah, I'm proper proud of myself. And then I thought, you know what? Let me go back and read everything from the start. I went back. I like proofread everything. By the time I finished it, it was 8:30 in the morning. Hit submit. I'm not kidding. The second I hit submit, got a confirmation email. Thank you. We've got your application. Literally, within 20 seconds, my cousin phoned me. He's like, yo, what's happening? He goes, you ready for the cricket? He goes, I'm up. Let's go. And I was like, you know what? Had a shower, left for cricket.
Oh, yeah, rate that. I rate that. I was scared you were going to say you missed the cricket.
All nighter and then that.
No, I rate it, man.
The point of my story is just like, you've got to literally like want it more than anything else in the world.
I think it's a common theme with a lot of the kind of presenters we've had on the show. Kind of perseverance in the industry is like really important. It sounds like it's something that you've done really well.
And you know what? A lot of people, thank you. A lot of people also like one thing that I've been conscious of my whole life is age. And I'm like, oh well, the older. Like a lot of people think, oh, the older you get, the harder it becomes. Life-wise, yes, because, all of a sudden, like, if I get a wife and kids, I can't then dilly-dally around. Like, I've got to pay for the wife and kids. Do you get me? Especially the kids. But the point of it is, I don't want no independent women coming after me like, we don't need you. But the point of it is, like also recently, I've met this guy called Joshua Harris, who's like a presenting coach, absolutely amazing guy. And he actually turned around to me and he goes, do you know what? Age, in a weird way, is the biggest blessing when you try and do these creative jobs because of what he calls life experience and journeys and stories. And he goes, someone who's 19, they could blow on TikTok, but they won't have that depth of journey and like life stories and experiences that I have. Does that make sense?
Character building.
Exactly. So if anybody that's listening that's a bit like, oh, I'm too old to do this, you're guaranteed to have more life experience and knowledge and all of that than, someone who's 18, 19.
Where can people find your work? How can they tune into like shows you're doing that now?
So all of my stuff, my handle is the same across all platforms, which is RJ Presents on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. Like, it's all RJ Presents. I do a radio show on Croydon FM every Wednesday, 12 till 2. So it's called Asian Beats. I play music with South Asian influences. So basically like Desi vibes. I also play hip hop, R&B, like I play Drake and like all of that stuff as well. But the main part of my show is to try and champion new artists and new talent. So if anybody's listening and they may know an artist that's like up and coming, that's like Desi or Brown, that doesn't mean you have to be like, make Punjabi music. But like, for anybody that's, essentially like Desi Brown that's making music, feel free to send it to me via email. And it's going to sound a bit horrible, but if it's good, it'll get played.
No, it's cool. Hopefully we got got some people listening.
Yeah, and even like you guys, if you come across any music artists, and you think they're sick and they need, feel free to point them in my direction. And the main thing is like, not to go on about I've had a hard life, but I'm always out to try and help people, and I'm always out to try and like point people in the right directions, because I also realize that one bad conversation and one wrong direction can lead you down a whole different path. Do you get me? So yeah, like if anybody ever needs anything, feel free to shout at me anytime.
Yeah, sounds good. And I want to just mention the podcast as well. Is that podcast still like up and live? Can people listen to it?
It's still up. I have improved a lot since then, but yeah. So it's called RJ's Bollywood Beats, and that's on SoundCloud.
And is that Bollywood music or Bollywood films or both?
Both. Yeah. So basically, I talk about the latest Bollywood films. I used to do this. Actually, there's some funny bits in there, which, to be honest, I can't even listen to anymore because I find it cringy. Because what I used to do, I used to say a line from a Bollywood film,
right? And
then I'd be like, "Which film is that from?" And then like you could actually win. I used to give away meals at restaurants.
Oh yeah. Wait, how did you do that? Like gift vouchers kind of thing?
Yeah. So I'd like it was a good restaurant as well. It was in central London. It was in Soho. There's this place called Kati roll, which is basically, it's like a paratha wrapped in, but I had like a bit of a relationship with them. So I'd just be like, these people are coming down.
Yeah.
Give them a free meal. And then I used to pay for their meal.
Oh, okay.
Or sometimes they'd just like, I paid for it initially. And then sometimes they'd just like, because it was good advertising. Like I was kind of advertising them as well. So it worked hand in hand. Yeah. So I used to do free meals. And I mean, outside of all of this creative stuff, I also, like at uni, a lot of people don't know this, but I was president of the Hindu Society.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and I used to organize like pujas and stuff like that. But then I also used to organize like trips to Thorpe Park and like stuff like that.
It sounds busy. Done a lot of stuff. Like at the beginning of the episode when you're saying that one thing and it's like you actually think about it and you've done like a lot more.
Yeah, and so I used to be president of the Hindu Society, and then I became a part of what they call the national, so it's called NHSF, National Hindu Students Forum. So I used to travel around the whole country for different events and different like Hindu societies, giving them advice on how to run proper societies. And I actually ran one of the biggest garbas in the country. So there's over 1,000 people Garba, which me and one of my friends, we organized in London.
What years were you on the NHSF?
From 2012 to I want to say like 16. Do you know anyone?
As in, I went to Hindu Sock at Warwick. So I was just like,
oh yeah, sick. Yeah,
so
I was part of NHSF. So yeah, Warwick was part of it was one of the societies. But yeah, Warwick were a really good society. They were really good at kabaddi. If you ever played kabaddi, do you know what kabaddi is?
Is that the wrestling or similar to wrestling?
Yeah. A lot of broken bones in kabaddi. But yeah, off the back of that, I then was a part of So they do Diwali in Trafalgar Square. Basically, they have a huge Diwali celebration in Trafalgar Square. So I was on the committee for that as well. So I've helped organize.
Oh shit, man!
The celebration of there's about 40,000.
Yeah, that's yes, pretty big.
Yeah, like I try and do as much like community stuff as well. So a couple of years ago, India's Prime Minister Modi came to Wembley Stadium, did a speech. I worked at that event as well. So yeah, I try and do stuff for the community as well as doing like all of my media stuff. And I try to balance my like community, cultural, religious kind of side with my creative side as well.
Seems Bear goes on at Wembley, and I'm just hearing about it for the first time, and I live right there.
Yeah, a lot goes on in Wembley, man.
I'm just like, what? Like that guy, the Prime Minister, came here, and I'm just like, I didn't know till now.
Yeah, at least you don't have a broken knee.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, I hope you're okay as well, by the way. 'Cause I saw one story actually after you said it that you have a broken leg, but I didn't see the bit where you were explaining the story. I only saw a picture of your leg in a.
Oh, okay.
A brace. I don't know what happened to your leg. So what happened to your leg?
Do you know what? I've done so much stupid, crazy things in my life. I literally slipped in my kitchen and landed on my knee, and that was it. Game over. And I've cracked my kneecap. So yeah, I've broken my kneecap.
I don't think I've ever broken anything.
Neither had I.
We've probably broken our toe.
Yeah, but breaking your toes, like, isn't that like you don't know? Like you could have, but.
Yeah,
but I've never done anything where I've had to go like hospital. Do you know what I mean?
I swear you broke your arm at uni. What the fuck are you on about? Yeah.
Nothing was wrong. I just asked for a cast, so I looked a bit badass. But
no, and they gave it to you.
Is this the truth?
I didn't break my arm. I didn't break my arm, man. I didn't break my arm.
And they actually gave you the cast.
They were like, they put me in a sling and everything, but. It wasn't broken. It wasn't broken.
You were just trying to trap some girls, innit? You were trying to get
like little football injury. Do you know what I mean?
Yo, babe, do you want us like stand up?
Wait, it wasn't even fraction.
I didn't think it was fraction either. To be honest, I think it was literally like it hurt. Yeah, it hurt. It was off in a week, mate. It wasn't like it wasn't deep or anything.
You say that. Do you know what actually happened? You know, like NHSF have those sports competitions. One of my friends was playing football and he ripped 3 ligaments. And it happened in Birmingham. And they're like, we need to take him to hospital. I was like, nah, listen, there's no way I'm letting him go to a hospital in Birmingham. I was like, I'm going to put him on the coach here and I'll take him to a hospital in London.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's really bad man of you. Like, how you going to make him like... And I was like, listen, he goes, the whole coach ain't going to wait for him. Yeah. And I was like, I ain't getting stuck in Birmingham.
Yeah.
We'll have to find a way back to London.
I think, actually, Hamish, I think on my side it was, so we played a football match, computer science versus like, I forgot what society it was. I think it might have been South Korean society. And we like, they like, somebody slide tackled me. I fell on my arm. And to be fair, at the time, it wasn't like, I didn't feel it that much pain or whatever. Like, obviously, it felt badly. But when I got home, it like really hurt. And I don't know if you heard the story about it. Like, Anna, my housemates, RJ, were like... No,
I know the story. This is what I was going to bring up next.
Yeah, there's this whole like kerfuffle over like getting me to A&E, like, because I needed... There was something I was missing that I needed to get from someone and pick up. Oh, with the car keys to like the car or something. And she was in a club, like on campus, or somebody was, and it was a massive, like, big story. So I think when it got to the hospital, they were like, you know what, you're fine. It was kind of like, do you know what? I can't like just leave here when everyone's like made such a big deal to get me to A&E without like it being without like coming out in a cast. Right. Like I need to come out in a cast. You know what I mean? It needs to look like kind of bad. So I think but it did hurt. It did hurt though. It did hurt. I wasn't like faking the pain. It did hurt.
No, I assume you were faking the pain, but this cast business, fam. This is the first time I'm hearing about the cast. It wasn't actually broken.
We might need to cut this out of the episode. I'm not gonna lie. We might need to cut that bit out.
Fam, what? Because I remember Jitten and them lot drove you up. I assume he waited at A&E with you.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
How many hours was that way?
It was quite a long way. It was enough for me to like not want to come out with nothing. Do you know what I mean? But it was a nice evening. You know, we spent. It was a nice night. Do you know what I mean? We bonded.
Frozen peas, my friend. Just frozen peas.
Yeah. Well, so have you got a broken leg now?
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, a real one, Aaron.
Yeah, a legitimate one. How long are you going to be like in the castle?
I've got an assessment this week because at A&E they just literally put this on me and they're like, "Yeah, we're going to send you for like a proper assessment." And then when I go to the proper assessment, that's when I'll find out like further steps. But at the moment, I have no idea. But she said to me, she goes, it is broken, but she goes, it's not like bad enough that you need an operation or anything crazy like that. But yeah, it is broken.
Well, hopefully that gets better soon. Fingers crossed.
Hopefully.
But awesome. Yeah, I think we're like coming up to the end of the episode. Yeah, so how we end off each episode is like with some final questions, a call out, and then a shout out. So final questions, we'll go for it. First one for you is, what would be your advice if you had one piece of advice to give to like a younger RJ?
The biggest piece of advice is don't ever listen to anybody who says fake it till you make it. Just work hard, get good at what you do, and just grasp every single opportunity. So I think I did grasp every single opportunity, but I think this whole fake it till you make it thing is just so dead. It's unbelievable. And yeah, so just try and focus at becoming the best at what you do is the most important thing.
The second question is, what would be the title of your autobiography?
Do you know what? I had a really good answer for this. And I've literally just slipped my mind. Oh, God. Oh, yeah, I got it. I have my own saying, which is like my own quote. And so I don't know if it's too long.
Go for it.
But anything that doesn't benefit you is only harming you.
Anything that isn't benefiting you is only harming you. I'm trying to think of something that like disproves it, but
even if you look at it, like sometimes, but it depends on how you take it. Because sometimes working too hard doesn't benefit you. So taking a break can benefit you. So anything that isn't benefiting you is harming you.
That is probably a long book title, I'm not gonna lie. That is, but I'm sure it'd be a bestseller, an Amazon bestseller, man.
Or I years ago when I first started, I didn't even mention this, but I used to do this thing on YouTube. So I had my own YouTube show, and it was called The Journey to Success. So that'd probably be my title as well. Type in The Journey to Success, and that was under my old. So before I used RJ Presents, I used to go by Rajen J, Rajen J. I interview Punjabi hit squad Navin Kundra. Yeah,
just quickly, like is presenting, you do like radio, but is like kind of TV presenting or like on YouTube, like video wise, is that something you'd be open to, would want to do?
Yes, 100%. So my dream, I'm putting it out there.
Yeah.
My dream is ultimately to replicate Graham Norton's life. I want to have my own TV show and I want to have my own radio show.
Does he have a radio show?
Yeah, he has a radio show on Radio 2.
And Eurovision as well.
I could do it.
Yeah. Why not? Okay, no, that's cool.
God willing, everything works out. Like, yeah, I'd love to do something like that.
Watch this space. Third and final question. So this is actually a question we ask every guest. And that is, what has been your most memorable third wheeling experience?
I got a great quick story to this. So he's looking at me like it's not going to be a quick story. No, basically, my best story for this is 2019. My best friend got married. I was the best man and groom ring bearer. And at the wedding, at the registry, I got a little bit nervous in it because I'm like, oh, I got this big, responsibility. I was going to bring the ring and all of that. So then he was like, do you take blah, blah, blah? Do you take? And they went, I do. And they went, who's got the ring? And I went, I do. And my friend's like, you always have to try and get your limelight in there. And he goes, you always have to try and be the center of attention. Even on my wedding, he goes, you had to still the center of attention. But you know what it was? I just got so nervous that when they went, I do, they were like, who's got the ring? I was like, I do.
Just be like, you guys asked, man. You guys asked who had the ring. I was just answering. That's actually quite funny. I'm like, oh no, I'm scared if I'm ever in that situation, that might just like now I've got that in my head that might accidentally like come out. That's a funny one. That's a funny one.
The next bit is a nomination. So could you choose one or many people to hopefully be nominated to come on as a guest in the future?
Okay, so I think the best person who's been like, I've only recently met them, but they've been such a huge impact in my life in recent times is this guy called Joshua Harris. And he's like a presenter coach. So for anybody that wants to become like a presenter or like, you know, creative strategies and all of that, he is the guy. But also he's got crazy mad stories and like, yeah, he's like, I only met him like this year, but I feel like I've known him my whole life. He's like,
yeah,
my brother.
maybe he can give us some coaching of our podcast presenting. You know? Yes, see what he thinks. But yeah, we will get in touch and see what he thinks. Yeah, awesome. Last bit is a shout out. So basically anything like plug, promote, give a shout out to, we'll put like the links to in the description. So yeah, RJ, anything?
Yeah, every Wednesday, make sure you check out my show, Asian Beats, on Croydon FM, 12 till 2. And from January, I will be on BBC Asian Network every Sunday from 9 till 11 p.m. as a part of the BBC Asian Network Represents program. So yeah, make sure you tune in for all of that and make sure you follow me on all social media at RJ Presents.
Awesome. You had the intro and the outro, like both on lock, both smooth.
I know what, I'm just this is my daily life. And it's,
Yeah.
Don't ask me to do it again because I will mess up.
No, that's fine. I'm just going to shout out. Yeah, I'll shout out Priya and Amber, both of their episodes being presenters and from like an Asian background. So yeah, shout out to them. I'll put their links to their episodes with us in the description. And Hamish?
Yeah, sweet. I'll shout out Ways by Avelino and SL and Bolo by Dappy and Abracadabra. I haven't heard it yet, but I will be listening to it by the time this episode comes out. So go check it out. I'm sure they're bangers. Like, I don't need to listen to them to know they're bangers. So yeah, those are my shouts.
Thanks RJ. Thanks RJ for coming on.
No, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Take care, yeah?
And on that note, yeah, thanks for listening, everyone. I hope you're having a good day. I hope you're enjoying the British summer for those of you here in the UK. And yeah, sweet. Have a good day. Bye.
See you, everyone. Bye.
The studio is my second home. That's why I have it in my bedroom. I really do this all on my own. A shark quarry and my brother home. He was here from the day one. And not gonna lie, he's a real one. In my team, there are no fake ones. It's a fake love. No, I don't.